Hey everybody, it's Vanessa, the Crafty Gemini. Welcome to episode number 176 of my WIP Wednesday weekly live shows. Today we have a couple things to talk about. As you notice in the title here, we are going to be sharing some fabric cutting tips for working specifically with stretch knit fabrics. But before I get into that, let's go ahead and check in with everybody in the chat. Let me know if you can see me and hear me and where you are tuning in from. I'm coming to y'all from North Central Florida, from my home crafting studio here. Hi, Zena. Zena's a neighbor. She lives in our same town. Hi, Margie, tuning in. She says from chilly and rainy Wisconsin. Wow. Chilly is wild at this time of year for us. It's been definitely in the 90s here in Florida. Let's see. Hi, Susie. Thanks for tuning in. Ooh, she's joining us from her RV in Montana. Sounds amazing. Hi, Roberta from San Diego. Let's see. Hi, Miss Diane, tuning in from Maryland. We got Valerie from Michigan. Susan from upstate New York. Good. We got a bunch of friends on here. Hi, everybody. Hey, Maureen, tuning in from Texas. And we got Miss Deborah in the house from south of us in Port St. Lucie, Florida. Hi, Diane. Tuning in. Let's see who else we got. Oh, we got Diana from Indiana. Pat is in the house, and we got a Gloria tuning in from cold New Jersey, she says. Wowzers. Okay, I can't even imagine cold weather right now. Here in Florida, I'm already starting to fight off the bugs off my tomatoes and my cabbage and broccoli. It's a slight experiment here. For those of you that garden, you're thinking probably y'all are starting to put, maybe not yet. It's mid-May. I think further up north, maybe y'all start like after May 30th or something to start putting your spring crops in the ground. For us here, mid-May is pushing it for cool weather crops, which are like, you know, the cabbages, the greens. I still have kale growing. My cabbages, we'll see how big they get before the real heat and the bugs zap them. But so far, so good. Swiss chard is doing good. Y'all know we got a lot of stuff in the garden. For those of you that are interested in that kind of stuff, I tend to post the pictures and little snippet videos and kind of like show you around the garden on my Crafty Gemini Farms Instagram account, okay? I also have a Crafty Gemini Homestead YouTube channel. Just thought I would throw that out since it's been a long time since I've mentioned anything about that. Good morning, Wendy, tuning in from Australia tomorrow morning. Hi. Okay, so real quick, a little bit of a recap for those of you that are not signed up for my email newsletter list. We've been sending out, well, I have been sending out emails sharing some little kind of hints and tips and things, not tips, hints and sneak peeks, I should say, about my upcoming, my latest new online course. I haven't revealed what it is yet, and I will not reveal it yet today because I still have a lot of stuff to put together before we're ready to release it. But let's see, a couple days ago, I think I released a like fun little riddle. And so I sent y'all a link in the email. This is another reason y'all should sign up for our email newsletter. It's free, but it keeps you in the loop of what we have going on, and you can participate on different things that we have going on, like giveaways, and find out when there's sale prices on classes and clubs and things. And so I sent out this little riddle with a link, and I was telling y'all to see if you could guess based on the riddle. It was pretty cryptic. I wanted it to stay like that on purpose. It couldn't be too obvious, right? Because then you would know what it is. But we put out a link to a form to have y'all guess. And I received, I think it was 383 submissions. I went through every single one. And would you believe that only 5 people out of 383 guessed correctly? I thought it was super fun, and I was laughing the entire time. I love a good game. I think it makes things a lot more fun. But there were 5 people that guessed it right, and I mentioned that the first 3, so it comes in with a timestamp of when you submitted your guess. So the first 3 people that got it right are going to get the course for free. Okay, so we will. And so those 3 people will contact you as soon as the class is ready to launch. Well, I'll let you know before we launch the class. That way, if you wanted to sign up for the class, you don't actually pay for it, because those 3 people that guessed correctly are going to get the class for free. So I thought that that was a fun little giveaway to do. And so we'll be getting or reaching out to those people so that they know that they won. But I won't reveal it yet. Then in today's email, I included a little picture of a little something to give y'all another little hint. So those of you that saw that email, maybe you're thinking about it, about the guess. And then for right now, the next hint is this right here. And I will open it up for you so you could see. It's just a piece of fabric folded in half like this. Okay? So this is your next hint of what the next class is going to be. All right? Oh, that's so funny. All of y'all are like, was it me? Did I guess it right? Did I guess it right? Oh, Antonia says, What was the riddle? Let me see if I can pull it up again just to read it out loud. It's too late to enter, but I'll still, read it out for y'all so you could see. Nope, then not that one. Do you have the email there? Let me see if I can pull it up on my inbox, on my other inbox, where it goes out to. Because I usually archive the emails right when they come in, but I will read it because I thought it was super fun. I play too much, y'all, but it's so much fun. Okay. Hold on. Okay, here we go. That's not it. Hold on. Okay. Here we go. Nope. I sent so many emails. That's not the one. Where is it? I can't even remember the title of the email. It was like, can you solve this mystery or something? Hold on. Okay. Here we go. It said, riddle me this. I'm stitched with love, but I don't hang on a wall. I'm not a bag, though I can still carry it all. Your style, your flair, your favorite prints too. With just 3 fat quarters, I'm custom and new. A twist on tradition, I'll freshen your flow. Guess what I am? Take a shot below. And then I put the little link there for you all to submit your guess. So that's all I gave. I mean, there's definitely hints in there. Obviously, 5 of y'all got it right, so that was good. But the first 3 people will get the class for free. Oh, look at Heather. She wrote it in there. Thank you for putting the riddle in there. Good. That way people can read. Carlos says such a sinister laugh. It's so much fun. You should see me. I'm like there going through the riddles, telling my husband, read this. Oh my gosh, it's so fun. This is so cute. I had to change up a bunch of words, because some of them are like a hint, but it gives too much away. It's too easy. And so that was fun. Okay. Oh, Heather says, I know what the photo is, but it did not help me guess. Good. But that way you can kind of be piecing together the different little photo tips. But if you're not signed up for my email newsletter, you'll definitely want to do that because this is the kind of fun stuff that we do in my emails, okay? And to sign up, the link is in the description box. It's in the caption probably. You can easily just go to craftygemini.com/newsletter and you can sign up right there so that you make sure that you're on our list so that you will be the first to know whenever we release new things like this, new classes and things like that. Valerie says, I know it, I guessed it. Well, we'll see. I can't remember who it was because I just went through and highlighted the 5 answers that I saw through the 383, something like, it was almost 400 submissions. All right. All right, so let's go ahead and switch them over to my over-the-shoulder camera shot so we can start with today's demo. And I will be sharing more. We're super close to releasing the class, so just be on the lookout via email, okay? That's how y'all will hear about it first. All right, so for today, our volleyball season just ended. We actually were able to secure the championship win for our bracket, so super proud of the girls. I made them little tumblers with my sublimation printer and the HTV Ron Auto Tumbler heat press, and I've shared it on here before. I can't remember for what. I think I did a video on the tumbler, and I did a video, I think, on a mug or something like that I've shared. So anyways, we used that, made them tumblers, and so now my daughter wants me to make her more little workout shorts. The season's over, but she wants to be going to the gym and all that. And so the handy dandy, tried and true, forever being made. As you can see, this is my bag that has all these sizes in here. All the pattern pieces traced out for different views of all these sizes. I've been making these for my daughter and for myself. I mean, for her since she was itty bitty, probably since one of these early sizes, I can't even remember, size L, right here, size 8. So, and she was probably like 6 or 7 when she was wearing a size 8. So we've been making them the whole time. The last one she had, one of the pairs that she was wearing a lot throughout our volleyball season was woman's size 4, okay, which is size R, and they're fitting her a little bit tight already. So I want to make her some size S one. So I traced off the pattern pieces. This is a woman's size 6, okay, and I thought I would share with you all some tips and some things to consider when you're cutting out stretch knit fabric. So we're going to talk a little bit about this activewear fabric, the pattern pieces that I need. If you're looking for something like this, and I'll show you the cover sheet again, I have a video course A lot of you watching probably have made this with me in the past. We have a step-by-step video course that has a ton of videos on how to make the Jalie Clara. We have the hard copy patterns in stock. It's number 3887. I included the links for all of the class and the hard copy pattern that we sell in the description box below. So if you're checking it out, give it a go. This is I love the capri high-waisted version of this. I have like 6. It's like my go-to workout pants, okay? You can do full-length leggings, okay? And if we look down here at the illustration that describes what the pattern views and the looks are, we have a full-length leggings with a high-waisted separate waistband. We have capri length with the high-waisted waistband. We have shorts with no waistband, just like a turned-over elastic edge finish. Then we have, this is the back view. So those are the 3 front views, and then the back views are the same. So you have shorts, capri length, and full length. And of course, because we have the option to go short, capri, and ankle length, you can also adjust the length that you want in between. It could be like longer than shorts, but shorter than capri, just past your knee. You can adjust all of that, and it's absolutely no problem. It's real simple to customize. Then you have the 2 different waistband views, which I love. This here you can see. This is the high waistband that has a separate waistband piece. So you could do something like that, color block it, and I have several pairs like that where I didn't have quite enough fabric to make the pants out of what I made the waistband out of, so I just used 2 different colored fabrics that have similar stretch, and I use one for the waistband, one for the legs, right? And this one, they did the high-waisted waistband with the same fabric, with the same self fabric, and then this one doesn't have a separate waistband. It's just a turned under top. So that's really like the quickest way to whip out leggings, shorts, or the capri length version of those leggings, okay? Laura says she likes those shorts around the house. They are great. I use them all the time to go in the garden. When it's super hot here, I'll wear the regular shorts. And when I work out most of the time and things, I will just use the capri length. It's like my favorite. I have really long legs, like long femur, and I'm short-waisted. So I like the high-waisted feeling, and then I don't like it to go all the way full length. I like it to stop kind of mid-calf-ish. So I love the capri length, okay? Hi, welcome, Annette. I'm glad that you're able to join us today, too. Okay, so here are the pieces that I need for a pair of shorts. And y'all know, when I'm talking about my garment classes, I always tell you, if you're a beginner or you're kind of getting into garments, especially for sewing with stretchy fabrics, I highly recommend that you pick up a pattern that's obviously a great quality, like a good quality drafted pattern design, but that has few pieces. The less pieces of fabric you need to cut, the better, quicker you're gonna get to the end, and you're more likely to either make it again so you can see where you messed up and where you can improve, and you have quicker results, right, to go around the second time. If you make a pattern that has 9 different pieces just for a pair of shorts, chances are if the first one doesn't come out perfect, you're probably not gonna wanna make them again, because you're like, by the time I traced out the pattern or put it together PDF style like my friend Carla would do, that PDF life is not for me anymore. I don't have time for that. So it's funny because it's like one is quicker than the other, but I feel like I'm jumping into the pattern when I'm tracing out the pattern pieces. Whereas when I have a bunch of sheets and I'm taping them together, I'm just like, I don't even want to sew anymore. I don't know. Are you team PDF or team trace? Let me know in the comments below. Everybody has like a preference. But the fewer pieces it has, the quicker you'll be able to whip it up and make it. So even if it's messed up or it has a few little mistakes here and there, you're like, you know what? That didn't take me that long. Let me grab some more fabric and try another one or whatever, okay? So for this one, this is the women's size S. It turns out to be the equivalent, what did I say, of an American ready-to-wear size, about size 6. And so here it is. This is the front and back, okay? This template piece, I'm making view A with the high waistband, okay? That's the one that she liked for the other pair I gave her, and so she wants this one again. This is cut on the fold. So this one pattern template piece is both the front and the back of the shorts. When I tell you Jalie drafts their stuff amazingly well, I love it. Then you have a little gusset here. So what does this piece mean? This piece gets inserted in the crotch area so that you have no center seam running down the front of the pants. So if you have, high-end ready-to-wear, activewear leggings and stuff like that, and you don't like a seam running right down, I don't remember. Hi. Okay, I'm back. Okay. Hopefully it sticks. Sorry about that, guys. All right, so I'm back on. Great. Yeah, it's not y'all's internet. It's my internet. Looking like it's going to rain here, but we'll see. All right, so let's see. So some of y'all were answering that team trace or team PDF. Let's see. Laura says tracing for my size stuff and the PDF for her kids because if it's just a couple pieces. Yep. All right. Let's see. Oh, Mari says she's definitely a trace person, for sure. Tamara says she doesn't really like printing and taping PDF patterns. She doesn't mind tracing and ordering the AO from PDF plotting and live Jalie. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Okay, yeah, Susan says tracing is easier. Kathy says tracing. I agree. There's something about it, like the pencil, the ruler, going through it. It just makes me feel like, okay, we're getting started into the project. Dee also says she's team trace. Okay, good. So I'm talking to my people here. That's great. All right, so I have these 3 pattern pieces, and that's it. These 3 will make my daughter a pair of workout shorts with a high waistband. Okay, so we have this dark purple color fabric here. Now, I tried to go through my inbox and find my emailed receipt from where I had even bought this from, and I couldn't find it at first, so I started just searching like activewear, order, blah, blah, blah. And it looks like it, based on the color of what the fabrics say in the receipt, that I ordered these back in 2017. So yes, if you order fabric and you put it away in your stash, don't worry. 8 years later, you'll get to it, okay? Just like I'm doing here. So I have used up, y'all have probably seen this because we made some Clara, and I made myself capris using this blue, dark blue fabric, and I made my daughter a pair of shorts, and those were the ones that she loved. And then now she wants some more. So I'm using the same type of fabric. And unfortunately, this didn't say what type of fabric it was. It just said like plum activewear. But we're going to go through the amount of stretch that's in here so that you all get an idea of what exactly the amount of stretch of this is, okay? The pattern, I believe, called for, what was it, 40? Oh, 60% stretch in both directions. So the pattern tells you for how this is designed, we want to use fabric that has 60% stretch, both grain lines. So crosswise and lengthwise. And so this one, let's figure out, there's no selvages on here. It's just like a clean cut that doesn't fray. So let's measure and see. And if you've taken my classes and watched my videos, you know that the direction of greatest stretch, which we call DOGS, D-O-G-S, the degree of greatest stretch usually runs along the crosswise grain. So by stretching both ways, seeing which direction has more stretch, I'll be able to tell, hey, this is the crosswise grain, so we can make sure to orient it so that the crosswise grain is going this way, right? Horizontally across the body, because that's the circumference around the hips and the thighs and everything that we want it to stretch the most at, okay? So I'm going to pinch it here, fold it so that I'm grabbing 2 layers of fabric, and I'm measuring across 4 boxes on my mat. So pinch here at the beginning of box 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 here. Y'all know what we're doing here. We're splitting it up into quarters. Now I'm going to stretch. And for every additional box that I can stretch this fabric, that tells me the percentage of stretch. So 1 box is 25% stretch, like a quarter, okay? 2 boxes is 50% stretch. Whoop. Let's go again. It slipped out my hand. 25, 50. And I can stretch it a little bit more, but not quite to 75. So I'm going to call it about 60%, which is good, because that's what the pattern says I need, 60% in both directions. So we have the 60% stretch in one direction. Now let's go ahead and check this way. So this way we went 60 degrees. I'm going to turn it. And all these little white flecks are white from this table, which we're going to get to in a minute when we share these cutting tips of things that you need to consider. So I measured this way. Now I'm going to measure this way. Same thing. I pinch it a little bit of ways away from the edge. Grab at the beginning and end of 4 boxes, and then we stretch 25, 50, about the same, 60-ish, okay? So this fabric has the exact same stretch in both directions. We should be good to go, and it's hitting that minimum 60%. Let me just double check real quick, because this is the last pair, and these fit her snug, but they were 1 size down. So as long as this one doesn't stretch way more than this new fabric that I'm about to make it out of, we should be good. So I'm just going to check real quick. 25, 50, 60. This is the same fabric. Good, because it feels like the same fabric. But you can't just assume that the fabric you're using is going to have the exact same amount of stretch as another one that might be the same. Sometimes you'll find that even though it's the same fiber content ratio and all, even in 2 different colors, it might have a different amount of stretch. So be careful with that and always double check. Here we go, 25, 50, 60. This one goes past 75 to 80. So this is probably the degree of greatest stretch. So those fit her a little snug, but not too much. So I should be okay going a little bit less to 60% stretch, but 1 size up. So you see how that's kind of like in betweenish? It should work fine. All right, so Maria Elena's asking, is this like swimming suit fabric? I would say kind of, but not. This does not feel like a pure nylon spandex to me, okay? This feels like some type of a ribbed poly spandex. It's tricky to tell. I mean, it's great for activewear. I almost want to say it's one of those like specialty, like moisture wicking type of activewear fabrics. So, and I tried to find the information, but since I can't figure it out, y'all might want to be better than me and actually label your fabrics when you throw them in your stash. Me, I'm just like stretch knits in the bin. Anything that stretches in that bin. And then when I go to pull it out, I'm like, this could work. And I don't even know what it's made of. This could work, but because I've already made shorts and leggings for both of us out of the same fabric in a different color, I know that it will absolutely work. Okay. Karen says, do you have suggestions for fabric websites that list the amount of stretch for the fabric? So normally y'all hear me say and recommend Girl Charlie. I know that they shut down for a little bit. I'm not sure if they sold the business or they just like reopened it or moved or what, but they're back now. Okay, so if you knew about the Girl Charlie website closing, they're back and they're selling fabric. So I haven't logged in yet to check. It says no sound. Go ahead and just refresh your page, Annette, just to make sure that it's not on your end. But they're back, and I haven't checked to see if it's like under the same management or what, but I know that before, at least, they were really good about posting the amount of stretch in the fabrics. When we sell fabrics to go with our kits, or when I'm launching a new class, or if I'm listing fabrics just to sell on the website, I always include that. So that's another option. If you're signed up for our email newsletter list, you'll be in the loop of when we add new things to it. And Tamara says Surge Fabrics has great athletic and swim fabric. The company I think that I bought this from, granted it was 8 years ago, was, what was the name again? It was Fashion Fabrics Club. Yeah, so check them out too. And I looked like under activewear or whatever. I was trying to find the same fabrics, but obviously they're not there. It's been 8 years, but that's who I got these from. Okay. So now, we said that this has about the same stretch in both directions. So really, for me, it's not going to matter too much which way I orient this. If you had a fabric that stretches more in one direction than the other, definitely make sure that the crosswise grain is the direction that you have this in. Now, I'm going to get super close to this because it's like a ribbed fabric, but the ribbing is so fine that you can't tell. When you look at it, it looks literally the same on front and back. But I can tell if I get down here. At least I thought I could tell. Yep, this is the pretty side. Okay, so this is my pretty side. I'm gonna extend all this out that way. And here are some of my cutting tips. One is, of course, if you're working, because this is tips on sewing with stretch knit fabrics, is to check the amount of stretch. Make sure that you have that fabric oriented correctly. There. So do that, one. Two is be very careful with the surface that you're cutting this in. So here I'll give you some ideas. This cutting mat that I have here that you can see has been chopped up a million times. This is not actually a self-healing mat. I can't even remember the company I ordered this from, but I custom ordered it because it fits my whole entire huge table here and it's a massive piece. Whereas like a regular, say like Olfa or Fisker's cutting mat or something, they don't come this size, right? So I have this on here. However, if you have, and when I describe it, you're going to know what I'm talking about. One of these cutting mats that they sold like at the big box craft stores, that it's almost like a clearish, translucent-y kind of clear thing, and it's almost gummy. It comes rolled up in a big box, and it's like super hard to get it to lie flat. When you cut into that, because it's not self-healing, you're literally making cuts into that plasticky, rubbery surface. And so what I have found, at least, when I'm cutting through stretch knit fabrics, especially synthetic ones that have some type of a nylon or polyester spandex, is that as we cut and the blade goes in, it actually pushes some of the fibers into the cutting mat. So you can snag your fabric, you can get inaccurate cuts, and overall it's just a headache. So depending on whether or not you plan to cut your fabrics with a rotary cutter or scissors, you have to think about the layer underneath. So in my case, I'm probably not going to want to cut on this because this is the area that I stand in front of. This is where I mostly make my cuts, and I literally have thousands of little cuts in here. Because it's not self-healing, I constantly have to like go here, and it's like they have like a little scratcher tool, which is just a piece of acrylic that you would take like with your ruler and kind of go like this just to kind of flatten out all the little raised up edges of the mat itself. But if you have a self-healing mat, this is my magnetic one from So Tights, and you're going to use a rotary cutter, this is going to be your best bet so that you don't run into those same issues, okay? But also, some of you may be working and cutting your pieces out on like a dining room table or a kitchen counter or something, and if you don't have a mat big enough for a huge, say like a long leg pattern piece, then you may need multiple of these mats to bump them up side by side, maybe put a grid of 4 so that you can cut through for using a rotary cutter. Now, if you have a big table but you don't have a mat to cover the area that you need to cut, you can also cut your pieces out with shears, okay? But here's, and we're going to start cutting here. Yeah, Tamara says the mega mat at Joann's. I didn't like it at all. It's hard on rotary cutter blades. Yes, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That's exactly the one. Okay, so if I'm going to place this here, and I need to cut out the front and back pattern piece. This pattern piece tells me it needs to be cut on the fold. So I need to have this fabric folded because I said the one pattern template piece is the front and back. So let me get this fabric out the way so I don't chop into that perfectly good yardage, and I almost knocked. Y'all don't even know what I have here on my table and behind me. All the stuff for the upcoming class, and I'm trying to like scoot it out so you don't see, but it's about to start falling all over the place. Anyway, okay. So I said this was the pretty side, so I'm going to fold it onto itself. Something like that. Make sure that you don't have fabric like working on a little small table where the bulk and the weight of the fabric is pulling you and dragging you down, okay? And that's especially important when we're working with stretchy fabrics, because if we're weighing fabric down and it stretches, it's going to be being stretched as you cut it. And then when you remove your piece, the whole fabric will go bling, and it comes back into itself. And that means that your cutting was not accurate, because if it's being stretched while you cut, once you finish cutting and let it go, it's going to come back to a smaller size than what you hope to cut. So that's part of why we don't want to have this kind of hanging off the table or anything. Pick it up, even if it's like jumbled onto itself kind of like this, but you just don't want the weight of it dragging you down, okay? So these are all tips, and these are all things that, like, when you buy a pattern, it's not going to tell you all the prep work tips and all that. But of course, I cover all this kind of stuff in my online courses. So that's definitely something, if you're thinking about getting into garments or you want a step-by-step course on making these leggings in shorts, capri, or full length, I think there's over 20-something videos in that course, and I walk through every single step. All right. So if we were to place it here, remember I said this gets cut on the fold. It's only this part. Notice how this cuts out. This is not on the fold, only this, okay? So I'm going to bring this down because you see how I have a little bit extra up here. I don't want to waste this fabric. And so I'm going to bring it down just a hair so I have just the width that I need to cut this out without wasting. And that way I preserve a lot of that width, because, a lot of these knit fabrics, they come at 58, 60 inches wide. And so just because you got a yard doesn't mean that you only have a yard and then a short width. You have a lot more fabric going that way. So usually we can get a couple more sizes or a couple more pieces out. Or even if I could just get an extra waistband or capri length pants, then I can make the waistband out of a different fabric, right? Like I showed you on the cover of the pattern by color blocking it. So think about that too when you're going through your scrap fabrics. All right, this is on the fold and I'm right there. Do you see where this fabric edges? Right to the tip of the pattern, and that is perfect. So I'm going to realign this here, and I'm going to scoot all the way over here. This first piece I'm going to cut with the rotary cutter because we just talked about using a self-healing cutting mat underneath if you're going to be cutting with a rotary cutter through synthetic knits, okay? And I say synthetic because whenever we're cutting through synthetic fabrics, they tend to wear our rotary cutter blades more than if you were just cutting through cotton. So if you're doing active wear, you're cutting through fleece, if you're making, sports bras and all this kind of workout gear with stuff that has polyester and spandex and bathing suits, you're going to go through your blades a lot quicker than somebody that's just cutting cotton for a quilt, okay? So with the rotary cutter, I'm going to cut around this, and I went ahead and put a new blade on my rotary cutter. It's been a long time. Every time I feel like throughout my classes, I'm like, this needs a new blade. And then I just keep using it. Don't be like me. Change your blades. All right. So here is some pros and cons to working with a rotary cutter versus scissors. The next template piece I will cut out with scissors, and that way I'll share my tips and pros and cons for each. Okay. This, a pro. One, I love a rotary cutter. It's fast. It's super accurate. Cons: if you don't have a steady hand and you're not good at eyeballing and staying to the outside, you can end up cutting right into your pattern template piece, or worse, cutting into the pattern template piece and cutting into the fabric, making everything a lot smaller than it's supposed to be. So you got to be careful. If you have an odd shaped pattern template piece like this and you're not super confident with a rotary cutter, this may not be the best option for you. And instead, I would probably recommend that you do scissors or shears, okay? But you'll see how quick and easy I can cut through this. When you cut on an edge where there's a little bit, don't just keep pushing, because there's more weight here than there is here, and this will oftentimes kind of get jumbled up a little bit. So after I cut a little, I'll almost hold it off to the side just to keep a little bit more tension, to keep that fabric taut as I cut, and I get into a wider area that's easier for me to maintain the edge. And I'm pressing down as I go, making sure to stay just to the outside of the edge of that template piece. You don't want to be shaving off pattern paper, okay? I'm using a 45 millimeter rotary cutter blade here. You could use the bigger one, the 60 millimeter, for something like this. If you were making the smaller size, usually when there's tighter curves and things, I would recommend the 28 millimeter, which you'll see me use for this little area here, because it's a little teensy curve and you don't want to go in with a bigger blade. Chances are you're not going to be able to take that tight, small curve, no matter the size that you're making. This is a really tight curve right here. And with some of the bigger ones, chances are you end up chopping into this, and then your gusset's not going to fit right. And that's the crotch area. You want it to fit right. Okay, so be careful with that. So don't think that you could just get away with one rotary cutter. That's why you see that I have multiples, because sometimes I need to use several of them in the same project, right? Okay. I'm just cutting across here, and then I'll go in here with my shears real quick just to cut my notches so I don't forget them. And if you're wondering what I'm doing, if you've been in my classes, you know what I'm doing. We cut them in instead of cutting them out. They're easier. So now I come to my little guy here, 28 millimeter. Keeping that fabric nice and flat. The slinkier and drapier the fabric is, the more it sometimes wants to move on you. Do you see how tight that little curve was? There's no way I would have been able to do that. No matter how confident I am with the rotary cutter, it's just too tight of a curve. And if you don't have a small rotary cutter to get in there, then you can absolutely go in there with your scissors and just trim it, okay? I have a notch here, 2 notches here. I did that. Okay, so that is how I would cut with a rotary cutter, making sure that it's on a self-healing mat, because it goes best in combination with that rotary cutter instead of trying to use a rotary cutter on a surface that's not for it, okay? And I just leave the pattern piece there, fold it up, set it aside. That way I don't mistakenly cut out more than the one piece that I need on the fold. I know that that's the front and back of the shorts. It's already cut and done, okay? Next up, let's go ahead and do scissors now. So you notice I put pattern weights to weigh everything down and keep it flat against my cutting mat. That is the setup for using the rotary cutter. For cutting with the shears is different, okay? Because scissors have to open, close, open, close. And what happens? The fabric needs to be in between these two, right? So that means that I need to be able to get the bottom leg of the scissors under the fabric. So it's no longer keeping it flat against it, okay? I need to be able to pick it up but still keep it accurate. So my tips for that is keep it together. The fabric layers have to be kept together. And the best way to do that, okay, you have to think, how can I keep the fabric layers together when the pattern says that it needs to be cut on the fold? So I have a fold mark here, and that means that this is going to need to be cut like this. How can I keep the 2 layers that are here, okay, together, but still be able to lift it up and cut so that it doesn't move on me and I get accurate cuts? Well, there's a couple ways, right? I'm going to bring this down first of all, because notice, if I put this here, I'm wasting all this fabric. And we don't want to waste fabric, especially the good stuff. This fabric has like a good hand to it. It's drapey. It's almost cool to the touch, but it has enough heft to it that it holds you in, if you know what I'm saying. So with a high waistband, I mean, it's just some of my favorite workout pants and shorts to use. So I'm going to bring this down, lessen that fold a bit, see if that's enough. Whoop, too short. I need to pull some more up. Like that. Fold goes this way. That's better. Okay, so if I'm cutting on the fold, and hold on because let's see if that's better. Fold is here, right? This is my fold. That's what I'm lining up with the pattern template piece saying it's a fold. And I'm going all the way over. This is where I have a cut, but I'm going to go all the way over so I'm not wasting length here. So now I'm positioning this on the fold, okay? If I want to cut with scissors, don't try to do this. Some people will just hold it and get under there and start trying to cut around it. The chances of you being able to hold this pattern template piece in the correct spot while you cut without it moving, it's very slim. Like there's really, you got to be really, really good. And you're going to constantly have to be like checking it to the last edge that you cut to make sure that it hasn't scooted over, okay? Because by the time you cut around and it's moving on you a little bit, you can take the pieces out, place one on top of the other, and I guarantee you this is not going to match the fabric. So what I recommend doing is taking some type of pin, not clips. Pins and clips to me are not completely interchangeable. I use them each for specific things, okay? If I'm wanting to hold thinner fabric layers together with less movement, I use pins. If I'm wanting to hold bulky layers together for sewing, I use clips, okay? So I'm gonna grab my pins, and I like fine glass head pins. The finer the better. I'm placing this, making sure it's right on the fold, okay? I'm gonna put a pin down here. These longer ones work really nice because they allow you to span a wider chunk that's being held. If you have little teensy pins here and there, you're going to need a bunch of them. You're going to have to put more, space them out. So the longer ones you have, the less of them you'll need. Just make sure that they're nice and fine, okay? So I'm going to put one there. I'm going to put one this way. They don't have to be in a specific direction, right? When we sew, I recommend putting them perpendicular to how you're sewing, to the seam that you're sewing. But for this, again, this is just to hold the fabric layers together so that I can cut accurately while still picking up, putting down the fabric, okay? Maureen says, is the fabric folded with pretty sides touching, and why? Yes, it is. And why is because it needs to be cut on the fold. If the piece is a piece that's being cut like this so that it's symmetrical on both sides, being cut on the fold usually is, it doesn't really matter if I'm cutting it pretty sides touching or wrong sides touching. But it needs to be one of those so that we're cutting on the fold, and then when we open it, you have the full piece, right? This center place here is usually where the fold is going to be. If that's the center, that means that, can you see how this is kind of scooping this way? It's not a perfect rectangle. It's a contoured waistband, and so it's designed to go hips here, okay? A little bit narrower going up towards the waist so that it's not loose at the waistline and then snug at the hip. It goes snug at the waist and then opens up a little bit more to accommodate a wider hip area here. And so that's why there's shaping there. So if this is cut on the fold and we open it, which I'll show you after I do it, you'll see that it's almost like a slight smiley face. And that's the shaping that's built into the pattern piece, okay? Lori says, are these the pins you carry on your website? So the ones we carry are these magic pins. They work great as well. Either one, because both of these ones are a little bit smaller. They're super fine. You can iron over them, which I used to think that was like a great point to make, you know, and to have, but I rarely ever iron over anything with pins in them, right? You iron, press first, crease things, hit it with the clapper, and then pin. So I don't know that that matters too much, but I have found that the ones that are like the regular kind of cheap little pins that have a plastic head on them, the plastic ball just ends up popping off over time, and then you can't really use them, okay? So magic pins is what we carry, and I'm not sure we still have them in stock, but you can do a quick search for magic pins. They're great. Okay, these I think are glass head clover pins. I don't know if we have these still listed on the site, but yeah, either one. Just some good quality pins. If you pick up the pin and you see rust on it, don't put it in your fabric. I'm just saying. Especially like here, we have, you know, a lot of humidity and stuff, and so like really cheap pins from old magnetic pin cushions that I have, you know, sometimes every once in a while I'll find some and I'm like, ew, what is this rusty old pin? It must have been here for 15 years or something. All right. So notice I'm kind of going around the edge. The reason for that is to use less pins, to keep the fabric held a little bit better, more accurately along the edge, which is where I'm going to be cutting with scissors. And I'm going to do another one right here. And the other reason is, notice the pins are a little bit away from the edge. That way they don't get in my way when I'm cutting either, okay? So now, look, that's not going nowhere, okay? So now I know, okay, great. And notice I'm kind of smoothing everything out as I go. I don't want the pins to be scrunching in my pattern template piece, because that pattern, if I traced it accurately and cut it out accurately, it now needs to transfer over to an accurate cut of my fabric. Because otherwise, you know, if you think you're making size S and you end up making something closer to a size R, every step of the way, the more effort you can put into being accurate, the better results you'll get in the end, and the more accurate results, right? Because then you can say, oh, this will fit me a little bit too small. Then you go ahead, make the next size up, and then it might fit you the same. If those accurate measurements for that next size up weren't accurate, then it's not going to turn out the size that it was supposed to, okay? So now here, Karen says, can you put the high waistband on the shorts? I am. That's exactly what I'm doing here. You can put the high waistband on any length. So that's the cool thing, that you can kind of mix and match the leg length template piece in the Jalie Clara with the waistband, right? So now, I mean, this would be extra work to do if you wanted to still go in with the rotary cutter, but if you don't have weights and you do have good pins, then you could do this and go in with your rotary cutter. That's an option too, okay? Now, if we're doing this for cutting with scissors or shears, it doesn't matter the table that we're on, because I can have this on a wooden dining room table. It doesn't matter because I'm not cutting into it, right? I'm now going to use my sharp Kai scissors here to get under it and just follow the edge. You want to use the longest chunk of the blade that you can with one swipe of the closing of the handles, okay? So the longer the blade, the better. In other words, you don't want to go like this. Little half-inch chunks. The edges are going to be jagged, and it's going to take you forever. So slide that all the way in there. Make a good long cut, especially when we have just straight edges like that. So notice I can even hold this down with my hand, get in there, and just slide under to make my cuts. And if you're watching me do this, you probably know why I like the rotary cutter, because baby, I do not have the time or the patience for this right here. Because you see, like, the fabric, once you cut it, it goes away. Sometimes it folds back under, it gets under the scissors, you have to constantly be clearing it. But use what you have, okay? Now these are almost $100 scissors. They're the bomb. This is why I use them for like for cutting. This is what I would use. If you have really big shears that have like longer blades on them, then you would cut this even quicker, okay? But you see how the pins have kept everything together, and you can at a glance see, okay, my fabric is not sticking out too far beyond, you know, the edge of the pattern template piece. I cut it pretty accurately. We'll leave it like that. So same difference, but you know, by now I would have been done with the rotary cutter. Again, be careful not to stretch or pull the fabric, because that will affect the size. But notice I slide all the way up, chomp down the full length of that blade, so I get a nice smooth cut. Same thing here. And so again, I'm not using the cutting mat, right? Because we're not cutting into it. So this could be done on any table. Whoop. And then I will cut my little notch here, and I have a double notch here. And this pattern piece actually has me needing to cut 2 waistbands pieces. So it says cut 2 on fold. So I have to take off the pin, or take out the pins. So here I'm going to show you, like we were talking about earlier. Remember I said contoured, and it's cut on. Do you see how it goes? Whoop? Not a lot, but there is a little bit of shaping to it. Okay, the contoured high waistband. So we have one of those. I'm going to go ahead and cut out another one. And we'll do it with the rotary cutter again, so y'all can see fast, especially when it's just a straight piece like this with no weird edges or little tight curves or nothing. But again, you could use pins or you can use the weights. I'm just putting, these are just washers that I get at the hardware store, just because they have a good weight to them. They sell other ones, but they're thinner than this, so be careful. If you're wanting to get them, sometimes they have like the little cubby in the front where you can buy them by the piece. Usually if you move that out the way, there'll be a box in the back, and you could just buy the whole box like I do. All right, so there's that. weights. Notice I'm putting my finger behind to hold that fabric since it's barely a little strip, and just create some tension on it so that it stays flat. We'll come around here and here. And I love me a rotary cutter. I don't even know, like, I'm not even watching the edge of the pattern paper because I'm right-handed, so I'm to the left of it. I don't even have to see to the other side, and I know that I'm staying straight on. That just comes, you know, with practice. But don't, you know, sometimes people feel like, oh, well, maybe that's not for me because I'm not able to do it like you. I've been doing this a long time, y'all, a long time. Let me just clean up these edges here. And I like cutting. That's my favorite part of quilt making, especially. Cutting all the pieces up is my favorite. I would be happy to hand it off to somebody to sew, which is weird, right? You would think, oh, you love sewing. I do, but I like the whole process. I don't just like to sit at the machine and just sit there and just boringly just stitch and stitch and stitch. It's just too monotonous for me. All right, so yeah, I did cut my notches. Good. So that's the second waistband. Again, we open it on the fold. It has that slight contouring to it. Boom. We're in business. So that's that. That's that. And there's only one more pattern template piece that I literally just blew it away by putting that fabric there. And that's the little teensy, ooh, almost lost it, gusset piece. Ooh. This right here. Now the thing with this gusset piece is, again, it has a grain line. And you have to be careful because, well, I guess it doesn't matter too much here because we said this fabric has the same amount of stretch in both directions, right? So this has a grain line. The gusset, like this, horizontally across your body this way. So we want the grain line to run this way. If you had a fabric that had more stretch in one direction than the other, this one doesn't matter. So I'm just making sure. Usually for little pieces like that, I will find like a little corner like this of a scrap that's kind of sticking out. Matter of fact, look at me. Ha ha. Almost threw it away, and that's plenty. So have color blocked gussets in your leggings or shorts, but maybe you do. Maybe you have a different fabric for the waistband and then a different fabric for the shorts and then a different fabric color for the gusset. You could. Who's to say you can't, you know, put all your scraps together and make it be like that? But see, if I wanted to make multiples of this, I could probably, let me see. No, that's pushing it. I was like, I could probably get 2 out of it. Not really. But we can go like this. Stretch this way, stretch this way. I'm going to put it. Yeah, it's going to have to be this way. That's okay. So we go like that. Here's what I do. Here's a tip for cutting fabrics out. If you're doing it with a rotary cutter and you're not going to bother to use the scissors, you know, with the pins and all that, here's what I do. If your weight is bigger than the pattern template piece itself, don't worry about it. Sometimes people think, well, I have to have it right in the middle so it's away from the edges. You don't need to because you're only cutting one edge at a time. So what I'll do is put 1 or 2, you know, depending on the size. You can put it like this. And then I'll cut here and here. And when I get to here, I'll scoot these guys over to the other way. And that just helps maintain the weight on it while I cut all the way around. Does that make sense? So just keep it like this. And once I've cut there, right, now I got to move them out my way so I can come up this side. Just slide them. For this one, you probably only need 1 weight, but like that. Like that. And I have a notch right there. That's it. Okay, so those are just some of my fabric cutting tips for working with stretch knit fabrics, because I know sometimes you see me do it with rotary cutter, but I also want to let those of you know, if you're like my mom and you started sewing ages ago and you just can't get down with the rotary cutter and love some scissors, that's how I would do it, just to make sure that the template piece stays on the fabric. But ever since I got her on the rotary cutter, my mom is now a big rotary cutter fan. She didn't used to be. She's like, oh, no, that's too much. I can't figure all that out. And then she was like, oh, my gosh, so much faster. I'm like, I know. I've been trying to tell you, and way more accurate because you don't end up with those jagged edges like we can sometimes do if we don't slow down and take our time with scissors, okay? So here you see my pieces, 2 waistband pieces for the Jalie Clara legging shorts that I'm making my daughter. View A. They're shorts with a high-waisted band. Remember, we cut this one on the fold, so I'll show you this one, how it comes. Like this. Again, front and back, the whole piece. Okay? So cute and super comfy. She loves them. So I'll be glad that I was able to kind of advance myself a little bit in the prep work, sharing those tips with y'all here today. I'm just going to whip these up on the serger because it's super easy and quick too. So that's what I will be doing. But hopefully y'all learned something and can try out a couple of these tips the next time you're cutting fabrics out, especially fabrics that have synthetic fibers included. And play around. You know, try it out with the rotary cutter first and maybe use some scissors. And hopefully you'll find something that you like to land on, you know, that works better for you, especially when you're like on these fabrics. Especially one thing I was going to mention aside from activewear is the nylon spandexes. There's some dancewear and activewear fabrics that are like for bathing suits that are super slippery and slinky. And so those you absolutely want to be careful, both when you're using with the rotary cutter because they can slide a little bit on you. And then if you're working with scissors, forget about it. They're going to, like the fabric just slides right off of it. So definitely you can also feel free to use that combination of pins and a rotary cutter or pins and scissors if that's what you have as well. Okay, so hopefully y'all learned something. Go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. If you're not yet subscribed to my email newsletter list, make sure that you do so because I will be announcing my next online course very, very soon. And like I said in one of my last emails, you don't know what it is, but you're going to want to make them. And the next time you see me here, I'm going to be probably doing the big reveal, and I think it's going to be super exciting. So if you want to make sure to catch me live when I'm revealing the latest online course that I'm about to be dropping, make sure that you sign up for my newsletter at craftygemini.com/newsletter. So thank you, everybody. Thanks for the great questions. And the video course for these Clara leggings, if you're interested in signing up for that, the link is in the description box below, as well as the hard copy pattern because we do have it in stock. Okay? So thanks again for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your, today is Wednesday, the rest of your week, and I'll see y'all in the next video.